So we've been talking about a ruling from a federal court that upheld a ban that a school put on students wearing American flag T-shirts on Cinco de Mayo, a Mexican holiday that's celebrated here in the United States. The school feared it would cause violence between white and Hispanic students. Some of the Hispanic students were wearing the Mexican flag. There was no ban, however, on Latino students wearing Mexican flag T-shirts. Doug Burns, a criminal defense attorney, Fred Teece, a former federal prosecutor, both back with us. And it's nice to have you both because you're both dads. So you've both sent your kids to school and have had that experience. Here's what one of the mothers of the students who wore the American flag T-shirt had to say. This is the United States of America. The idea that it's offensive to wear patriotic clothing, regardless of what day it is unconscionable to me. Doug, I mean, what do you think about this case? The court ruled clearly that in favor of the school.
Well, I think you have to factor out sort of the emotionalism and the sound bites, and you have to look at the law. We have a 1969 case, and this, by the way, does not express my own view or editorial, but we have a case called Tinker versus Des Moines School District, 1969. It says students are absolutely free to express their opinions unless it interferes with the administration of the school. And obviously opinions can vary. Here, and I read the opinion, the court said that there were previous instances of violence on Cinco de Mayo, so the school's actions were reasonable. Again, opinions can vary.
Fred?
Well, let me tell you, the law is not free from passion, and I'm sorry, I disagree with this decision for a lot of different reasons, not the least of which is I think it's a fundamental First Amendment right to be able to express your patriotism and wear our flag. And the fact that this court ruled that that was in some way incendiary or insulting, I think is ridiculous. And the bottom line is in constitutional law, putting emotions aside for a second, it's a balancing act. And for this school to make a decision that they were going to send kids with an American flag home, and not children from a Mexican flag, is highly intrusive of their First Amendment rights, and there were other ways to do it. They could have banned the Cinco de Mayo party or whatever it was that day. But I think that the way they went about it and the way that was actually affirmed by the Ninth Circuit was repugnant.
Well, and that's what we've heard, Doug, is that when and we actually have some video from 2010 when this question came up at the school. You see the boys and their United States of America flag T-shirts, and then you see other students waving the Mexican flag, and some say there's a double standard. Is that the case here?
Well, it's funny because in going through the opinion, and I didn't have time to really study it that closely, I didn't really see all that much about this dichotomy between one side wearing their apparel and the other. If that's true, I certainly understand the argument. But back to Fred's point, I would counter also by saying that we know that, for example, with the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, school districts have tremendous leeway, and you don't always have your full constitutional rights.
That's
it's the same thing in this instance, Fred.
But I agree with that. Schools get wide latitude. But my problem is with the school, and then, quite frankly, with the Ninth Circuit's affirming them by basically upholding it and in essence, trampling over these people's First Amendment rights. First Amendment rights. I agree with you that schools. I mean, right now I have 3 sons in a local high school as we sit here and talk, and I understand that their job is to keep my children safe, as it is in California. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they also have to respect the children's First Amendment rights.
Fred, let me ask you a question on that, though. Does intent matter in this case? I know we talk about intent in a lot of cases, but if the boys went to school with the T-shirts on, with the intent to confront the students that were going to wear the Mexican flags, does that change the case? We don't really know. The parents say they didn't.
That would go to make whether or not what the school did was reasonable. If they knew that these people did this in order to incite violence and to start a fight, then that would be, the answer is yes, that could be relevant.
Okay, and so that's one of the things that, will this come up if it does go to the higher courts?
You know what's going to happen, by the way, because William mentioned this. They're going to go for what they call rehearing en banc, which in simple English means normally the appeal's in front of 3 judges of the Ninth Circuit, but if you're granted rehearing en banc, you go in front of the entire court. That's what they're going for. If they lose that, then they can go to the U.S. Supreme Court.
And do you think it'll head there, Fred?
If they lose that, it's going to be difficult for them to get to the Supreme Court.
No, I agree,
I think this case will stand the way it is. I mean, I don't like it, but I don't see it getting overturned.
Fred, great to have you on this topic.
Thanks
really
for having me.
appreciate
Enjoy
the time
your weekend.
today.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.